Hi friends, I'm so happy today that I get to read you one of my favorite chapters in any Magic Tree House book, Chapter 10 of Pirates Past Noon. It's one of my favorite chapters because we are going to learn so much about the Magic Tree House and who owns the Magic Tree House. And there are a few things that this new character that we're meeting is going to explain to us, and we can talk about it and talk about what's happening. So that's why I have my story grammar card up here, which is where we think about what happened in the beginning, what happened in the middle, what happened at the end, because we're going to get a lot of new information today. So it's important for us to remember what has happened before and what's happening now. Okay, in chapter 9, Polly the Parrot came back with Jack and Annie to the treehouse in Frog Creek. But that wasn't all. Polly turned into a woman. And at the end of the chapter, she said, "My name is Morgan Le Fay." And we're going to learn more about Morgan Le Fay. So make sure you're ready to listen and to learn, because there's so much important information in this chapter. Chapter 10 is called Treasure Again. I'm going to read a little bit in my reading voice, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to explain to you a little bit what's going on. Annie found her voice first. "The M person," she whispered. "Yes, I'm the M person," said Morgan. Where are you from?" asked Jack. "Have you ever heard of King Arthur?" said Morgan. Jack nodded. Jack's heard of King Arthur, and you may not have heard of King Arthur, and that's okay. There's lots of stories about King Arthur and this place called Camelot, and these are stories that Jack has heard before. So he's heard of this character before and knows who she is. "Well, I am King Arthur's sister," said Morgan. "You're from Camelot?" said Jack. "I've read about Camelot." "What did you read about me, Jack?" said Morgan. You're a witch." Morgan smiled. "You can't believe everything you read, Jack." "But are you a magician?" said Annie. She wants to know if this person is somebody who does magic. "Most call me an enchantress, but I'm also a librarian," said Morgan. "A librarian?" said Annie. "Yes. And I've come to the 20th century, your time, to collect books. You are lucky to be born in a time with so many books." So this Morgan person, there's something special and magical about her. I'm going to think about it for a second. But she's also not just a magical person, she's a librarian. What does a librarian do? Librarians help us find and read books, and librarians help us get more information. So Morgan is here as a librarian, someone who collects information and shares it with others. And she's here to collect books because there's so many good books that exist now. So here she is to collect books. Let's keep reading. "You are lucky to be born in a time with so many books." "For the Camelot Library?" asked Jack. "Precisely," said Morgan. "I travel in this treehouse to collect words from many different places around the world and from many different times." "Did you find books here?" said Jack. "Oh yes, many wonderful books. I want to borrow them for our scribes to copy." "Did you put all the bookmarks in them?" said Jack. "Yes. You see, I like the pictures in the books. Sometimes I want to visit the scenes in the pictures. So all the bookmarks mark places I wish to go." So she leaves those bookmarks in the book so that she can go and travel to those places. So every time Jack and Annie find a book with a bookmark inside and turn to that page, that's somewhere that Morgan has been or somewhere she's wanted to go. "How do you get there?" asked Annie. "I placed a spell on the treehouse," said Morgan. "So when I point to a picture and make a wish, the treehouse takes me there." "I think you dropped this in dinosaur times," said Jack. Do you remember what Jack, this was way a long time ago, a lot of books ago, but we saw it again this book. What Jack found in the time of dinosaurs? The gold medallion. He gives it back to her. "I think you dropped this in dinosaur times," said Jack. He handed the gold medallion to Morgan. "Oh, thank you. I wondered where I'd lost it," she said. She put the medallion in a hidden pocket in her cape. "So, can anyone work the spell?" asked Annie. "Anybody who tries it?" "Oh dear, no, not just anybody," Morgan said. "You two are the only ones besides me who can do it. No one else has ever seen my treehouse before." Oh, I need to stop and think for a second. I was so surprised when I heard that. Jack and Annie can see the treehouse, but can other people see it? No. And Jack and Annie can make the wish just like Morgan can, but they're the only ones who can make a wish and go places just like her. That was really interesting. Let's see what she says. "Is the treehouse invisible?" asked Annie. "Yes," said Morgan. "I had no idea it would ever be discovered. But then you two came along. Somehow you hooked right into my magic." "How?" said Jack. "Well, for 2 reasons, I think," explained Morgan. "First, Annie believes in magic. So she saw the treehouse because she believed in it. And her belief helped you see it too, Jack." "Oh man," said Jack. "Then you picked up a book, Jack, and because you love books so much, you caused my magic spell to work." "Wow," said Annie. So because Annie believes in magic and because Jack loves books, they get to go on these adventures too. "You can't imagine my dismay when you started to take off for dinosaur times. I had to make a very quick decision, and I decided to come along." "Oh," said Annie, "so you were the pteranodon." Morgan smiled. "And the cat, and the knight, and Polly," said Annie. "Yes," said Morgan softly. "You were all these things to help us?" said Jack. "Yes." Oh my goodness, I have to stop again and think about what's happening because I'm remembering and they're talking about things that have happened in a lot of our other books. Morgan was the pteranodon who helped them get away from the T-Rex. Morgan can change into animals just like she did the parrot. So the cat that helped them out of the pyramid, that was Morgan. And who helped them in the time of nights? The knight that helped Jack and Annie, that was Morgan. She's the one who's been changing into these different characters to help them find their way home. Wow, amazing. "Yes, but I must go home now. The people in Camelot need my help." "You're leaving?" whispered Jack. "I'm afraid I must," said Morgan. She picked up Jack's backpack and handed it to him. Jack and Annie picked up their raincoats. It had stopped raining. "You won't forget us, will you?" asked Annie as they put their raincoat on. "Never," said Morgan. She smiled at both of them. "You remind me too much of myself. You love the impossible, Annie, and you love knowledge, Jack. What better combination is there?" Morgan Le Fay touched Annie's forehead gently. Then she touched Jack's. She smiled. "Goodbye," she said. "Goodbye," said Jack and Annie. Annie left the treehouse first. Jack followed. They climbed down the rope ladder for the last time. They stood below the oak tree and looked up. Morgan was looking out the window. Her long white hair blew in the breeze. There's Jack and Annie down there waving goodbye. There's Morgan waving out the window of her tree house. Goodbye. Suddenly, the wind began to blow. The leaves began to shake. A loud whistling sound filled the air. Jack covered his ears and squeezed his eyes shut. Then everything was silent, absolutely silent. Jack opened his eyes. The treehouse was gone, all gone, absolutely gone. Annie and Jack stood a moment, staring up at the empty oak tree, listening to the silence. How do you think they're feeling? They have loved going on these adventures in the treehouse, and now the treehouse is gone. Do you think maybe they're feeling a little bit sad? I think I would. I'm gonna miss these adventures. Annie sighed. Let's go, she said softly. Jack just nodded. He felt too sad to speak. As they started walking, he put his hands into his pockets. He felt something. Jack pulled out the gold medallion. Look, he said. How did... Annie smiled. Morgan must have put it there. But how? Magic, said Annie. I think it means she'll be coming back. Jack smiled. He clutched the medallion as he and Annie took off through the wet, sunny woods. Do you think Morgan left that medallion there to let them know she would come back? I hope so. I hope she comes back so we can go on more adventures. As they walked, the sun shined through the woods and all the wet leaves sparkled. Everything, in fact, was shining. Leaves, branches, puddles, bushes, grass, vines, wild flowers, all glittered like jewels or gleamed like gold. Annie had been right, thought Jack. Forget the treasure chest. They had treasure at home, a ton of it, everywhere. And that's the end of the story. Oh my goodness. There was so much to learn in that chapter. And we're definitely going to talk about it a little bit more, about this person who owns the treehouse. We finally figured out who the M person is, and that Jack and Annie are the only special kids that can see this treehouse and travel with it. And I sure am hoping that the treehouse comes back so we can go on more adventures. Thanks so much for listening to our stories. I hope you guys are falling in love with these Magic Treehouse books and the adventures that we get to go on as much as Miss Troyer and I love to read them to you.